destructuring is not limited to just objects. We can also destructure arrays as well. Let's take a look at a typical example of an array in which we have some sort of data, and I'm not gonna come up with a better name. Let's say we have a hammer, we have a Boolean type of false, we have another string of Cosmos, and then let's say we have a number 13. So let's say we want to destructure all of these items into their own elements. That's what destructuring basically does. It grabs an item from an object or from an array and it puts it into its own standalone variable. So I'm going to say const. First, you need to keep in mind the syntax of the destructuring. For destructuring objects, we had curly braces or curly brackets. But for destructuring arrays, since the syntax of arrays is square brackets, we're going to have square brackets. There we go. This is not an array. This is the destructuring operator for arrays. Now, since I'm not going to be able to come up with better names, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attribute each of these items to their data type. Hammer is a string. So I'm just going to say string, but I can't say string, so I'm just going to use, like, let's say an object. Okay, so I'm going to say object. So the first one is object, and the second one, false, is actually Boolean. Then Cosmos, we have Cosmos, that is, I'm going to say buzz or a buzzword, and 13 is a number. And I'm going to set it equal to data. So this is so far familiar to you, right? And I'm going to say console.log object Boolean buzz and number. Let's save all of that. Let's jump into the console. Hammer, false, Cosmos, and 13. Congratulations, you just destructured your very first array. Now, with destructuring, we can do something very common when it comes to array. I wouldn't say very common, but it is a little bit common. And it's actually something fun that you can do, and that is called swapping variables. How can you swap variables? And what is even swapping variables? Let's say you have created a variable that is called math grade, and it is equal to 18.5 out of 20. And let's say you have another history grade that is equal to 19.5. Cool. And let's create a console log, and I'm going to say backticks. Let's use backticks. Now, another alternative to backticks would be just using regular strings, and I'm going to use both of them. So this is like regular string, and I'm going to pass in math, and then you need to separate it from the variable by a comma, and then you're going to write math grade, which is the identifier. And when I save it, it says math 18.5. You can do that, or you can use backticks or template literals, in which you're going to grab the value of the history grade, and you're going to say history, and you're going to say, so both of them are the same thing, except that in this case, excuse me, the type of this, it seems to be a string, but in here it seems to be a number. That's not something that I want to get into. Now, and now you know, okay, oh, I've made a mistake. I want to swap these two variables. So history grade has to be 18.5 and math grade has to be 19.5. One way to do it, it would be using a destructuring operator. So you're going to write math grade and then history grade, and you're going to say, okay, math grade has to be equal to the history grade, and history grade has to be equal to the math grade, and that's it. And now I'm going to copy this down below, and I'm going to bring it down here. And let's save that. There we go. So now you can see that the math grade is 19.5, but history is 18.5. This is another cool thing that you can do with array destructuring.